Good morning, y'all. It is Monday, the March 11th, 2024. We are almost halfway through March already, folks. 11 days in. And that just means we're closer to spring. And we had time change this weekend. We are in daylight savings time. And it's darker earlier again, but lighter longer. And I appreciate that because I'm on a new schedule again. Back to my schedule I was originally at for a long time, and that's 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. So I'm looking forward to being able to get off work and be in daylight for a little bit longer. I love it, and looking forward to doing some more spring stuff. It'll be a little bit warmer this week, back in the 60s, low 60s for a couple of days, and then cool off a little bit in the the weekend. But I'll take this warmer weather. Had snow yesterday. Snow, SNOW. Hate snow. Anyway, so I hope that you had a good weekend. I hope at all possible you were in church yesterday. And if you're not able to go to church anymore, we do stream on Facebook here. We stream our church services at the Liberty Baptist Church, Ada, Ohio. And also our YouTube channel. We have Liberty Baptist Church of Ada. We do live stream. Only if you're unable to go to church. Now, we wrapped up last week on local church discipline. And then this week, we're going to get into 1 Corinthians chapter 6. And 1 Corinthians chapter 6 is a good chapter. And the first 8 verses is going to be talking about taking each other to court. So let's just jump in here. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. And 1 Corinthians chapter 6, we'll look at verse 1. Dare any of you, having a matter against another, go to law before the unjust and not before the saints? What Paul's talking about right away here is taking each other to court and Christians really suing each other for like defrauding them in loans or and business matters and things like that, or maybe even stealing, stealing from one another. And so Paul's jumping right into this, and he's saying, dare do you guys keep taking each other to court before the lost people? Okay. Apparently, the Corinthian church had a problem taking business matters, financial matters, and different things to the local magistrates instead of taking it to the church to work it out. Now, here's the thing. Okay, I'm not like some other preachers out there say you just keep all matters within the church. You don't need to go to legal matters. Yes, there are times that you have to go to the court system to resolve matters. It has to be done. But as far as personal business matters and personal wrongs between each other, where something happened, one Christian wronged another Christian from your church, those matters need to go before the church. Okay, like certain types of things. Now, not all matters can go to the church. If there's a matter where a criminal law has been broken, then it needs to go to the court system. Because God has set up the court system, whether we agree with it or not. God has set up the world government system. And part of the world government system is a court system. But we as Christians need to be careful what we take to the court system. If it is a criminal offense, somebody has committed a crime that has physically hurt somebody or even emotionally hurt somebody in a criminal matter, then yes, that needs to go to a court. But if it's a small matter where somebody has taken something from somebody that they shouldn't have taken, or they have borrowed money that they haven't repaid, or some minor issues, we should take it to the church first. If it's a matter of sin, we take it to the church first. Now, there are some egregious sins that are criminal in matter. And I'm not going to go into detail. We have enough common sense as the body of Christ to know that there are certain sinful things that become a criminal issue that we need to take it to church or to the law system. Okay? And that's been a problem among Baptists and other churches out there where they're, and You might even note it in the Catholic Church, where there has been things that are sinful but criminal that they tried to keep within the church that it wouldn't get out. And you all know what I'm talking about. They try to keep these sinful behaviors that are criminal in nature. They try to keep it within the church when they should have taken it to the law. And the person that committed these sinful criminal activities should have been prosecuted. Not only should be prosecuted, some of them should have been put in prison for a long time. Because when the church did not do it properly, what happened is you allowed a criminal network to develop. And that sinful behavior that was criminal in nature caused a lot more people to get hurt by trying to conceal the matter. And I don't want to get into what I'm talking about here, naming it, but you all know what I'm talking about. If you're a Christian, you're a seasoned Christian, been a Christian for a long time, you know what I'm talking about. There are some matters that have to go to the courts, but small personal business, even in the small legal matters, we can work those out within the church. And how do we do that? We take it to, number one, we'll take it to the deacons, and then the deacons present it before the pastor. And as a church, we work it out. And with those individuals that have wronged each other, and I'm not talking severe criminal matters, those individuals that have wronged one another, we can work it out within the church. Now, here's the thing. If, just like there in chapter 5, if the person that's the offender doesn't get this thing right, they need to be kicked out of the church. They need to be removed from the church until they get these things right. But going back to the sinful criminal behavior, it must go before the law. Hands down. And there are preachers out there, I know will back me up on this, because I know preachers out there that are pastors and evangelists that were in law enforcement. I have somewhat of a law enforcement background, as in I at one point aspired to become a police officer. Now, I became a firefighter instead, because quite honestly, I got too much Irish in me, and I'd be like an Irish cop in New York City. Not a good, or Chicago. Would not be a good thing. I'll just leave it at that. But I became a firefighter instead. But I would see criminal activity as a firefighter. And I've seen criminal activity within churches that try to be covered up when criminal activity should have been taken care of. There are times where criminal activity must needs be taken care of by the worldly court system, because the crimes that these people have committed are worthy of prison time or jail time. So we must be careful when we look at this passage, because some people will take it to an extreme, saying, we take all matters before the church and we deal with it as Christians, as a church. Yes, some matters, but some matters outside of the church that need to be handled judicially and legally. But it's coming to suing one another starts in the church first. You take it to the church, you take it to the leaders of the church, and leaders of the church handle it. But if it's a criminal matter, it needs to go and be handled by the appropriate authorities. Now let's move on. Do you not know, verse 2, that the saints shall judge the world? There's coming a time in the future, during the millennial reign of Christ, we as saints will actually judge the world. The ones that actually do the judging are those that have suffered for righteousness' sake here. We will rule and reign with Christ. Over in 1 Timothy, it says, if you suffer, ye will reign. Maybe 2 Timothy. If you suffer for him, ye shall reign with him. And reign means you will rule with Christ. So there is a time in the future that we will reign as judges on this world during the millennial reign of Christ. So Paul's saying you need to be prepared for this thing. You can't even judge the small matters. Now, there are some small matters, again, that I'm talking about. There's small matters within the church that we can handle and we should handle to keep it out of the legal system. Like small amounts of things that happen between. Anytime it's criminal, court system. Hands down. That's where some things get really troublesome for churches because they don't know what to handle within themselves and what should be handled out there. There's my window. So we need, as Christians, to be able to discern. Back here, do you not know that saints shall judge the world, and if the world shall be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the? And look at what Paul says here: the smallest matters. Look at the wording: the smallest matters. The smallest matters we can judge within ourselves as a body of Christ, a local body of believers, and we should. It's those bigger matters we need to take out to the actual judicial process. But look at verse 3. Know ye not that ye shall judge angels? We as the body of Christ one day will judge angels in this world. And we'll judge angels according, kitten problem. We shall judge angels and we shall judge the world. See, let's revert back to history. Before the flood, there were actually angels here on the earth. And the angels here on the earth were set to judge the earth and oversee God's creation. But what happened with them? They had a desire. Some of them had a desire to become like the people of the earth. And they left their first estate. And when they left their first estate, according to Genesis chapter 6, they took themselves women, wives. That's where the giants came from in the Bible, folks. The sons of God, angels, came to the daughters of men and took them wives. And when they took them wives, they had children together. And they had children together, and those children were giants. And then the world was falling into sin. And then when that happened, God had had enough of this immoral, sinful nature of things that were going on and decided to flood the earth because it was getting taken over. And those angels back then were chained into hell, the pit. And one day they're going to come out of the pit. And when they come out of the pit, we get to judge them. And so that's what Paul's saying here. Know ye not that ye shall judge angels? Not only as Christians, we're going to judge the world during the millennial reign of Christ, but we're also going to judge angels. If we're at one point going to judge the world and judge angels, can we not handle to judge even the smallest matters within ourselves? That's what Paul's talking about. Verse 4, if then ye have judgments of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are the least esteemed in the church. What Paul's talking about is have somebody independent, has no connection to anything that was going on between the two believers, have him be the judge between the matter and have him help settle it. Now, he should be under the guidance of the leadership of the church, the deacon and the pastor, when he has these matters. I speak this to your shame. Is it not not a wise man among you, no, not one, that shall be able to judge between the brethren? Paul's saying, is there not somebody wise among you that can just sit there judging between you and get this worked out? But brother goeth to law with brother, and that before unbelievers. Going to law, taking each other to court. And Paul's saying, you got to keep this in. Unless it's a criminal matter. That's different. Now, therefore, there is utterly a fault among you, because ye go to law one with another. Why do you not rather take wrong? Why do you not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded? Turn the other cheek is what Paul is saying, unless by legal things or grave sinful things, it can't happen that way. There's a time and place that it's got to go outside. But the smallest matters, we need to work it out amongst ourselves. Nay, verse 8, ye do wrong and defraud, and that your brethren. We need to work some things out within the church. We need to be able to come to law with one another inside the church to deal with the small matters, even some small legal things. But again, brothers and sisters, if it's a matter that it's a sinful behavior that is a criminal action taking place, then it needs to go out to the legal system and not sheltered in place. Because if you don't do something and that person doesn't get right, and that problem will just expand and become a bigger problem. And when the secret comes out that you've been covering up something and that secret comes out, it will destroy that church and it will cause a problem to make the body of Christ look bad. When it comes to the small matters, we're fighting amongst each other, take it to the church, keep it within, get it right within the church. But if it's major, take it to the appropriate authorities. That's my 2 cents. Not everybody's going to agree with that. But I look at this thing 2 ways. I look at it from a Christian standpoint, then I look at it from the legal standpoint. And there are times that you have to take matters to the legal system. The small matters, we need to work out amongst ourselves. I hope that helps you. These are things, again, everything we face as a Christian are in that book. I'm pointing over here to that right there. They're in the Bible, and we need to be able to read it, rightly divide it, and discern the matters. That's all I have for you today. Hope you have a great day. God bless you all, and talk to you tomorrow.